Hi, I'm Susan Platt, and welcome to Platitudes, Find Your Roar. I'm here today with my good friend Vangie Williams. Vangie is the congressional candidate in the 1st Congressional District in Virginia. It is a long district. She is a mother of 6.
Yes.
Six
daughters.
Married for 25 years. She's a government contractor. She's a strategic planner. She has multiple degrees, master's degrees, and she's working on her PhD. And she's running for Congress too, and the polls have it now neck and neck race. So Vangie, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
What makes you roar?
What makes me roar? What makes me roar is knowing that for every challenge that I've ever come across, I've overcome. From being homeless as a teenager to fighting my way through the corporate ladder and breaking those little glass ceilings so other women can follow behind me and not have to fight so hard. So my roar is knowing that with every difficulty is a success at the end.
When do you think you found your roar as a child? What did you like to do when you were growing up?
I was an athlete. I loved everything sports. I even tried to play football with my cousins and found out that they throw the ball too hard and breaking pinkies was really painful. But I've been on track teams, and I was a discus and a shot put thrower, which is a funny thing to know. Played volleyball. I played soccer. Most people never knew I played soccer, but my roar came in knowing that there was always that opportunity for me to have a hand up. And I think I found my roar right after I got hit by the car. I got hit by a car when I was 15.
You got hit by a car when you were 15?
Yes. And understanding that that wasn't the end, that was the beginning of my new life. Because my sports career changed at that point.
What happened in the accident?
I broke my pelvis, fractured skull, and I tore the muscles in my right arm.
Wow.
So that took away the possibility of throwing a discus. But it opened the doors to making me realize how important my education really was. And the fact that I had always been a straight A student gave me that heads up and that leg up amongst my peers. So instead of being just a nerd jockette, I became the past nerd jockette who strived to just go for endless possibilities.
Tell me about your 6 daughters.
My daughters are ages 12 to 23. Each one has such talents. 2 sing, 2 are artists, 2 are in color guard. My youngest is still trying to find her way, but she's my techie. I have one daughter who has Asperger's. I have another daughter who's featured in my ad who has a condition that is basically, it's like asthma, but it's worse than asthma. It's called aspergillosis. And she taught me strength, where most people would say, oh my gosh, I'm panicking. My daughters have taught me strength in many ways, but they've also educated me on things that are important to them as young women.
Like, for example?
This is the funnest part of this. My 23-year-old, she said, my 23-year-old and my 20-year-old, she said, the 2 girls both said, we're not going to go to college right now because we want to figure out what we want to do in our career, because it doesn't make sense to go build up your college tuitions and educational loans if I'm not sure. So we're going to work for a little while and figure it out. Now, one wants to go to school in California, and I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. And the other one wants to be a singer because she can really sing. My 16-year-old, who's most similar to me than all of my daughters personality-wise, she told me at 12 that she wanted to be president, and I had to tell her, can we graduate high school first and go to college, and we'll work that out. But she asked me, why can't I start taking college courses in the 9th grade so that by the time I graduate, I'll have my 2-year degree? And I said, why don't we offer that? If she wants to start college courses and she's a straight A student, let's give her that opportunity. It's one of the things that I want to work on. My 14-year-old, now she's in 9th grade this year, but 2 years ago, she said, why can't she take shop or a vocation in middle school? She wanted to learn about the different careers out there and the possibilities. And then my 12-year-old is the one who shocked me, because she said, why can't we learn computer science and computer courses as early as first, second grade. She said, because we know computers, why aren't we learning about them? So she wants to learn how to program computers. And
Good point.
And it's why are we putting our young people so far ahead or so far behind when other cultures are so far ahead? So I learned from them that we are not given the opportunities to our children that we can.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why I want to really push education is because those 6 young ladies told me, this is how we can do this and take our children to the next level. Why not graduate high school with the possibility of doing what you want to do when you graduate if you don't want to go to college? And they've proven to me it can be done.
Well, I can't go any farther in this interview without asking you about your poor husband. I say poor because he's outnumbered 7 to 1.
8 to 1, because my mother lives with us as well. My husband is truly my best friend. We are together whenever I'm not campaigning. I think this is interesting because now that I'm campaigning, we would bowl 4 nights a week together. Mm-hmm. So it went from 4 nights a week to no nights a week bowling. But him being a professional bowler, it was important to him that he kept his identity.
Right.
But I think in the last couple of weeks, when we're finishing, events, I get to go past the bowling alley, and he is so proud of me. And he'll have my shirt under his bowling shirt, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you're so cheesy. But I realized he's really proud. And he said, if he had known 25 years ago that I was going to run for Congress, he said he would have made some other life choices like, how about I travel the world first? Or, but he's a great guy. He loves his girls, all of us.
Well, let's talk about one of your girls.
Yes.
Let's talk about what happened when your daughter got so ill.
I remember that day like it was yesterday. She woke up and she just couldn't breathe. And she didn't have asthma. This was a normal, healthy 2-year-old. And I remember her retracting. Now, Ladelia, my second daughter, has asthma. She was a preemie, and she has Asperger's. So I was used to asthma. I had asthma. But this was different. Her not being able to breathe, a normal, healthy child, is not common. I had to drive her from King George to Fredericksburg. And when I got her to the hospital, by the time I walked in, she was lifeless. I literally was running in saying, please take her. She's not breathing. When they got her back, her oxygen levels had dropped down to 71. That's respiratory failure. And the doctor said, well, when did her asthma attack start? And I was like, she doesn't have asthma. So they started treating her. Well, a week into her being in the hospital, I understand she was in the hospital for 3 weeks. My priority was her. Nothing else in the world mattered but her. I got a bill from Mary Washington. And I was like, wow, this is unusual. Can we get out of the hospital first? What I didn't realize was that because I had Cobra at the time, I had just started Cobra. I left NASA in January, the first week of January. You have a certain period of time that you have to sign the documentation. Well, it wasn't due to be signed, and it was on my dresser signed, but you don't think about this. By Lilia going into the hospital, she then had a pre-existing condition, and our insurance was negated. So even if I wanted Cobra, we could not have it. So from January 5th to February 2nd, we had coverage. The second she went into the hospital, in fact, the second we went to the emergency room, we lost our insurance. Jumping forward, that year she was in the hospital 3 times. But I remember I got a bill, and it was after her 3 weeks, and the bill was so high that I panicked because if she
How much was it?
The first bill was almost $300,000 because a 2-year-old needs round-the-clock care. I was staying at the hospital with her. They didn't have to intubate her, but the cost of trying to figure out what this was truly too high. What I did not know was that you can negotiate your hospital costs down. Well, I was a top agent in real estate, so I figured I'll pay this off, use my life savings, use everything we had, and I would, be okay. Well, a week and a half after I paid my medical bills off, all of her medical bills, the market crashed. All of my real estate deals were on hold. Although I had close to $4 million in money coming back to me, not one deal closed that summer. And I panicked. And then she went in the hospital again in September. When she went in September, all I could think was, okay, what do I do? Well, luckily we learned the first time, the state had picked up the kids. So the kids had medical insurance. But by then, we had no income coming in because real estate wasn't going in. My husband, not no income, but my husband had his income. It wasn't enough because compared to mine, it was truly a big difference. Well, by 2008, February 2008, in fact, October 2007, we had got a notice that if we didn't pay the mortgage, you'll lose the house. So I'm like, okay, let's do a loan modification. No deal. They would not do it. I had to have a full-time job for me to have a loan modification. Jump forward, I finally said, let's file bankruptcy. Filed a bankruptcy. I did a pro se. Don't ever do pro se. Get a lawyer. And I went to the trustee, and the trustee said, you need a lawyer. You need a lawyer right now because your situation is a little bit different. March came around. I finally had a job. And I had to file bankruptcy the second time. And this time they said, well, you realize you're going to probably lose your house, and anything that's not, anything that's secured, you will lose. And I'm thinking, house over child, any day.
Yeah.
So we fought, and we fought for 4 years. And finally, in 2012, the lawyers called when we moved. 2011, we moved out of the state, and the lawyer called and said, well, guess what? Your loan, your bankruptcy is finalized, and yes, you've lost a house. You'll lose it in February, but that's probably a good thing for you because it took away all the other medical bills that were occurring. The fact that any American has to worry about a pre-existing condition, a child who has no say in this world can be told, you can't come to this hospital, was a sad situation. But even worse was the fact that we were going to a special hospital at that point, and they were like, we will help you as much as we can, but you have to have insurance. Having insurance in 2008, still, every time my daughter went into the hospital, we had a $1,500 bill. 1 year, now she's 14, she's been in the hospital 16 times.
Wow.
This year alone, she's been in twice.
When you tell people this story, as I'm sure you have, because a lot of people, my husband and I dealt with my stepdaughter's death due to addiction, and we lost everything. She had no insurance. What do people say to you? Do they come and they tell you similar stories?
Yes.
They tell you their fears about this?
Yes, I know people who are afraid to go to the dentist because if they go to the dentist and they have to get major dental work, they can't afford it. So what do? You go home. That's not acceptable in this country. We are the greatest country on earth. We should be able to provide health care, dental, and vision. That's why I want Medicare now with dental and vision added in. Every single American who has a job who can do this should have this. We have Medicaid expansion. We have the unemployed or underemployed covered. But those who are working Americans who have insurance, that threat is real.
So you've been through a lot of tough times.
Yes.
And yet now you're running for Congress.
Yes.
It's not easy.
No, but I'm having fun. I am having fun.
Tell me what ultimately made you decide to do this.
The fact that the stories have never stopped. Rob Whitman is not there. He doesn't hear them. One of the reasons why I wanted my ad to be focused on Lilia and our story is the fact that as a congresswoman, I'm going to be there. I talk to everyone throughout the district. I know my team is like, oh God, she's talking to someone else. But this is the thing. People want to know that they're heard, that you're going to do something. Right now, if I've had people walk up to me and tell me their situations, and I'll get their number, give them my card, and say, call me, let's work this out, and refer them to the proper channels. If it's something congressional, well, I know my congressman isn't going to do anything. I'll refer them to congressmen outside the district and say, look, I have somebody who needs your help. the delegates appreciate the fact I have sent so many people their way to say they need help. Can you please help them? You can't just stop and listen to the music you want to hear. You have to listen to the whole concert when you go to a concert. It's the same way as a congresswoman or congressman. You have to listen to all your constituents, not just the ones who want to tell you the rosy stories or who are of your political party. And I tell everyone I meet, this jacket is a conversation starter.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Rosie, but like Rosie the Riveter. But Rosie has been a conversation starter. And the whole purpose of Rosie was because I wanted people to know I'm not running to be the liberal congresswoman. I'm not running to be the conservative congresswoman. I'm running to be the people's congresswoman. And I'm going to stay with that forever.
I see you have the Emerge pin.
Yes, I am an Emerge sister.
Yay.
Yes, I love Emerge. And I tell young women that I meet, if you are even considering running for a local office, school board, board of supervisors, delegate, visit Emerge. Let them educate you on the processes before you even get started. Because the truth of the matter is, although I came to Emerge during my candidacy, what I learned has taken me a whole nother level of being a candidate.
I think that's one of the best things I've ever done. Which
Yes.
is found Emerge here.
Yes.
So
yes.
the other pins, what are they?
Blue Wave
Uh-huh.
and Blue Wave and Love Wins. So Prince William County, these you can find these on Amazon, by the way. And truly, Love Wins. We have actually had someone, we were in a 7-Eleven. If you don't know, I'm addicted to Slurpees. We walked in the 7-Eleven in a rural area, and the clerk behind the counter said to us, you know, I'm voting for you just because of that pin. This pin is a signal to those who are in the LBGT community that I support them when they can't say that they're in the community. And that's important to me, that they know they have safety.
Where does all this strength come from? When you were a child, what was your childhood like?
It was tough. My mother was addicted to drugs ever since I was like 12 years old. My aunt and uncle were instrumental in my mother's one of 4 daughters, so I have very strong women in my family. Mm-hmm. Even on my father's side of the family, very strong-willed women, and they tell you like it was. But I was always told by my grandfathers, you are the strength that you need. You are the light. You have to go for it. My father's father used to say, smile, give it your all, and whatever the result is, if you gave it your all, it's your best, you've done the job. Whereas my mother's father was, your ship only sails once, take advantage of every opportunity, because even if you don't get the full opportunity, you have some benefit. And even with this race, I'm telling you, I've won in my heart because I've met some of the greatest people on earth. I have not had negativity thrown at me like most people would think as a black woman running in a red district. Instead, I see myself as an American running for American values, speaking to Americans, and we tend to laugh. You know, even Republicans who come across me, they want to argue, and then by the time I finish, I'm like, okay, I'm going to look up your website. That was good. You know, when you tell them, you know, at first when I said the statement, if it takes you 30 bullets to shoot a deer, you need to go fishing. Well, it was at first, it was kind of like, what is she saying? She's going to take our guns? I was like, no, I'm saying if it takes you 30 bullets to shoot a deer, you need to go fishing. You're a terrible shot. I mean, I grew up, you know, between Westmoreland County and Spartanburg, South Carolina. All I knew was farm life in the summers and in the holidays. And during the school year, it was sports. So it wasn't like I was the all-around girl out in the city. I was in my books.
So sounds like your male influencers were
yes.
very strong.
Very strong.
In your, you know, that was the same thing with me with my dad. He
Yes.
told me I was not going to be defined by my sex, but by my hard work and determination.
Exactly.
So when you have someone like President Trump
Yes.
call a group of women that are protesting inequality, inequities, and he calls them an angry mob, what do you say back to that?
Yes, we are an angry mob. We're an angry mob that's going to kill Capitol Hill and clean house. Because we as women, we're tired of the same path that has been going on for generations and generations. It's time we change Capitol Hill to be for we the people, not just corporations or the good old boy system. We're not saying that men don't have what it takes. What we're saying is at some point we have to be more rounded and accept that not everyone had that silver spoon in their hand when they were born. You know, I grew up in a family that I didn't realize that we weren't rich. I always thought we were rich. I thought that, you know, getting in my grandmother's 98 Oldsmobile was like driving in a big old limo. I was small at the time, but I used to think I was a princess. And one day my grandmother, she said, "We live in the ghetto." And I'm thinking, we do? Oh, I guess I can't have a horse. And don't let my mother tell you the horse story. Yes, I tried to buy a horse in an apartment. But I've always had that it's not where you are, it's where you're going. And I've worked hard. I have my degrees. I've finished school. My husband, he's my best friend. I mean, been trading for the world. My daughters, you know, my mother, my aunt, you know, making sure my aunts and uncles and my family is part of my journey.
What's the one thing that people don't know about you, that they may not ask you on the campaign trail, that you think they might want to know, or you might want to tell?
Of course, I'm addicted to Slurpees as well.
Yeah, right.
I get Slurpees delivered to me because I'm drinking them all the time. But the one thing that most people don't know, I would say that so I'm not a quitter in any form, fashion, any means. If I know that there's a job to be done, I keep at it until it's done. And the fact that all through my career, the reason why I've broken through the glass ceilings at every career was to make sure that women had that opportunity for equal rights, equal pay for equal work. You know, I've been in construction. I have worked some of the coolest jobs ever, but finishing the job is what makes me feel good. And plus, I like people.
Vangie Williams, thank you so much for spending some
Thank
time
you.
with us. I'm Susan Platt. This is another series, another episode of Platitudes, Find Your Roar. And now's when I do my thing at the end. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Find your roar.
I love it.
Thank you.